All right, let's just dive right in. The race to build artificial general intelligence, or AGI, right? It feels like it's the only story in tech these days. Billions of dollars, everyone just sprinting towards this incredible future. But what if that finish line we're all running towards is just a mirage? Now, I know, that's a pretty bold question, but it really gets to the heart of this huge contradiction that's bubbling up in the world of AI. Because, on the one hand, you've got this insane level of investment, this crazy competition, and on the other hand, there's this growing feeling that we might be slamming into some very, very real and very hard limits. And check this out. This quote is from a researcher at the Allen Institute for AI. We're talking a very serious place, and it's an absolute bombshell. They're basically saying the whole industry is chasing a myth. And the argument here isn't about, better code or fancier algorithms. Nope. It's about something way more fundamental, the laws of physics. So, okay, what are these physical limits that could, literally stop AGI in its tracks? And I want to be clear, this isn't just someone's hot take. This is an argument that's grounded in some pretty hard science. Okay, so what we're looking at here totally reframes the problem. We tend to think of AI as just software, right? Like it's just floating around in the cloud, something that can scale up forever. But this research makes a killer point. Every single computation, every little thought an AI has a physical cost. It's like, think about your car's engine. Even when it's just idling, it's burning gas, it's creating heat. Well, AI is doing the same thing, but on a mind-boggling planetary scale. You just can't escape the laws of thermodynamics. The big takeaway is that you can't separate intelligence from the hardware it runs on. They are tied together, and the sheer energy and memory you'd need for a true AGI, well, it might just be physically impossible to get. And look, this isn't some far-off theoretical problem for our grandkids to worry about. No way. These physical limits are creating a brand new bottleneck, like right now. It's completely shifting the economic landscape of how AI gets built. For the past few years, the whole game has been about one thing and one thing only: GPUs. Who has the most chips? Who has the fastest chips? But that is changing, and it's changing fast. The new choke point, the resource everyone is fighting for, it's not silicon anymore. It's electrons. It's all about who has access to just unbelievable amounts of cheap, reliable electricity to power these massive data centers. And this isn't some secret either. I mean, you've got leaders across the tech industry basically sounding the alarm. They're calling it an electron gap. And that gap is the difference between being able to train the next big AI model and being left in the dust. So the point here is huge. This energy problem, it's not a footnote anymore. It's the main story. And, whenever a new resource becomes this critical, it completely reshuffles the geopolitical deck. Think about it. Countries that used to be on top because they had oil, or later because they made the best computer chips, they might suddenly find themselves at a huge disadvantage, because now access to cheap, abundant energy is becoming maybe the primary weapon in the global race for AI dominance. And this chart really shows the new reality in action. You've got China, which has the biggest power grid on the planet and way cheaper electricity. That gives them a massive structural advantage. It means developers over there can train these huge AI models for a lot less money, tapping into these giant energy hubs. And this is key. It's not about who has the cleverest algorithms anymore. It's about who has the best and biggest infrastructure. But okay, here's where that contradiction we talked about gets even deeper. Because while all this is going on, nations and companies basically going to war over energy and chips, there's this other, much quieter story unfolding. A story of incredible cooperation that is just as important for the future of AI. So for these AI models to actually be useful to us, they have to do stuff in the real world, right? They need to check your files, use your apps, go on the web, but that's also, incredibly risky. Well, that's where something called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, comes in. It's basically the essential bit of plumbing that makes all this possible safely. It builds a secure bridge between the AI's brain and the outside world. You can think of it like a universal rulebook that all these competing AIs have agreed to follow. And the story of how this thing actually got built is just fascinating. This wasn't some top-down order from a big tech company. It actually started as a passion project by some engineers. Then, over about 18 months, all the major players, the big rivals, quietly started using it. And now, it's managed by the Linux Foundation, which is totally neutral. It's just a fantastic reminder that even when you're in a cutthroat race, you still have to agree on the basic rules of the road. All right, so just to recap, we've got hard physical limits, we have brewing energy wars, and at the same time, we have this amazing quiet cooperation. It's a lot, I know, but it all builds to what might be the biggest, most immediate contradiction of all: the massive clash between government policy and the simple, unstoppable flow of money. I mean, check this out. On one side, you've got Washington, D.C. doing everything it can to stop American money from flowing into China's AI sector. They're citing national security, all the alarm bells are ringing. But then, on the complete other side, you have Wall Street doing the exact opposite. They're just pumping more and more cash into the very same Chinese tech companies. It is a giant tug of war.
So why the huge disconnect? What are investors thinking? Well, they're basically making a bet on a few key things. First, they see the absolutely explosive growth happening in China's own market. Second, they're betting that any real government restrictions are probably years away from actually happening. And third, and this ties everything back together, they're really optimistic about China's ability to scale its infrastructure, especially that energy infrastructure, way faster and cheaper than anyone else.
And, well, the numbers here make this contradiction impossible to ignore. I mean, despite all the tough talk from politicians, the money is flowing. And actually, it's flowing faster than ever before. At the end of the day, the financial incentive is just too powerful to pass up. So where does all this leave us? I mean, we've talked about hard physical limits, these massive new energy bottlenecks, and these crazy political paradoxes. Let's try to tie it all together and ask the big question: what is the real limit on AI? And I think the most important takeaway is this: the biggest things holding AI back might not be the code we're writing. It's the laws of thermodynamics that govern energy. It's the very practical limits of our electrical grids. It's the economic incentives that decide where the money goes. And it's the geopolitical rivalries that are shaping this whole race. And really, that's the big idea I want to leave you with. As we're all sprinting toward this vision of an all-powerful AGI, maybe the most important thing we can do is to just look up from the screen for a second and remember the physical world with all of its messy, complicated, and very, very real limits that makes any of this possible in the first place.